Welcome to Reimagine Communication. This is an unfolding dialogue between Liv Larson and Kay Rung. For 3 decades, they have explored nonviolent communication, not only as a way to navigate conflict, but as a doorway into something larger. What it means to be human, together. Here, communication is not technique. It is presence. It is listening for what longs to be heard. It is daring to stay open in the midst of complexity. These conversations are living questions about truth, about connection, about the courage to meet life as it is and as it could be. You are invited to listen, to pause, and perhaps to discover something new moving in you. Let's begin.
So for today's conversation, let's use the title of the podcast, Reimagine Nonviolent Communication. How would that look? I've been thinking quite a lot for a long time about how we learn nonviolent communication, and also what challenges are there in the learning. And there's a dead end sometimes, or it looks like a dead end.
And what do you mean with a dead end?
As I remember, Marshall Rosenberg, he set out to answer 2 questions. Why are some people violent? And why are some people not violent, even though they are experiencing some terrible experience?
As I remember, it's framed something like, how could they keep their empathy, even if they were in situations where it was not so easy, where they had a lot of challenges? How could some people keep that empathy and some could not?
Yeah.
And he wanted to know why.
Yeah. And of course, he had a lot of learning and a lot of time spent on those 2 questions. And the summary, as I remember it, is something like, it's how we're educated. That when we're educated with a language, in a way of thinking, and in a way of communicating, that makes us violent. And for me, that answer sometimes looks like a dead end, in the sense that I don't see where my choices are. It's like, oh, I am socialized, I'm programmed this way, I can't do anything about it.
But the second person, then, that's the person that has empathy even when they've gone through struggles. They were also socialized in the same way, and
Yeah,
they seemed that they had a choice.
exactly. So then, for me, I would like to add a piece that between those 2 people, there's some difference.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference between those 2 individuals, if we kind of simplify it as, and is that the socialization? Is that it? Or are they living in the same world, the same society? Because they seem to be, but there's some difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's obvious.
And I think being able to be curious about that difference can be really helpful in learning. If you want to learn more about nonviolent communication or compassion or social change. So that is what I would like to kind of talk about. So I wonder, do you also see or experience that dead end?
I see the dead end in the sense of, I remember myself when I learned nonviolent communication, for example, with my conversation with my mom. And I had a sense that if I can just communicate like clearly my needs, my feelings, hear her out, she will also be on the same page as me. It was almost like part of my agenda. There was some kind of lecturing about her in the background. And it was only when I could actually quite recently, the last 5 years or so, see that she was brought up in a time, supported in growing up in a certain way, and having, you know, seen life through some glasses that made it almost impossible for her to be open in that way or to be empathic in that way. Only then I could have a sense of empathy for her that I had no agenda in. I had no like agenda in my, now I'm going to hear her so she will hear me, or now when I'm going to hear her we're going to have this deep connection, or any agenda like that. But I just had pure empathy for her, and our relationship just improved because I wasn't having that hidden agenda. So I'm pretty sure that's not all you mean with a dead end, but that's one of my dead ends.
So are you saying that when you could differentiate that the life circumstances that you have had were very different from your mother's for different reasons, the time and all the technology that is different, and society and the world has changed, and when you could kind of accept that she was brought up in a very different world than you, then like you could make a difference between what was different for you and different for her, and accept her and incorporate that in your understanding of why she is behaving in a way that might be different from what you would like, and so forth.
Yeah, like I could see, for example, that she was growing up in a time where communication, that was, if someone would say, I feel or I need, that in itself was taboo, which is very different from now with with our son, which is where in the times of 2025, you're supposed to say, I want this, I dream of this, I'm going to do this. But for them, and my mother's growing up in north of Sweden, inland, in a very poor household with 8 siblings and no electricity, and living in a house that was small enough for now for maybe 2 or 3 people, but they were 8 or 9 or 11 people in that house. It was very different what place the I had. Like there wasn't much space, like I'm going to take this space. No, it was like we are going to do this together so that everyone survives. And of course that influences communication. And only when I got that, and I mean I know that story from before, but I got it from like inside out. I could really shift that perspective. And I think my sharing NVC has been also shifted since then a bit.
So would you say that the version of you that first were learning nonviolent communication, like in the late 90s, that version of you is very different from the version of you 2025?
Yeah, for sure. And I
And
remember
it,
both of us, you and me, being irritated at the people who didn't get how important NVC was, or how beautiful it was to listen with empathy, or like we wanted to change people, even if we said, well, we're going to empathize with everyone. But we were quite judgmental about things.
yeah. So kind of assuming that everyone is the same or everyone should be as I am, that is very different from acknowledging that their life circumstances, the context that people are living in, or to kind of uh, include that in the way we listen and see people.
Hmm.
So that's little bit what I find so interesting, that I meet a person, but I don't know what version of I'm meeting. Kind of,
Mm.
I know their age, uh, 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 calendar age, but I don't know what version. Like, are they acting out of what kind of logic are they living through us? So are they learning nonviolent communication as the one right way, like following Marshall's words or the book or whatever, and then you can do it right and you can do it wrong,
Mm.
or is it like, oh, I'm focusing on the empathy part, wanting to kind of be sensitive to other people, or do I want to set boundaries and be very eye focused, like to show my contours, or later stages of nonviolent communication kind of.
Yeah.
So 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 if we are socialized, like if Marshall was right but not fully right, like, yeah, we are socialized because we're social beings.
Mm.
um so how do we interpret that, like, so we don't lose power, so we don't think that I don't have a choice about now in this moment. So what do you have to say about that? Like, do you have some input to?
Well, I don't know. Like the first part you said, it was, it's like many times when we speak about this, it is like we had one bath before and now we have another bath. We had one thinking kind of logic or thinking before and now we have another one. So it's like dualistic. It's like it was like that and now it's like this.
It's like
But
on and off, you mean? It's
well,
like a
maybe, but it's
switch.
no more like a sense of when I can, it makes more sense for me to say that my mom, who's 89, she has taken many baths during her life. Like first time leaving her little village when she was 16 or 17. It was her first going from one bath to another bath, going to a city for the first time in her life. And how that changed, how she could communicate and be and go for things that she could not when she was dependent on being in a family where everyone needed to kind of share. And then she went into another bath, as well as myself. But I just, at the moment, just seeing my mother's life so clearly that she's gone through different kind of phases where she has grown. And it's not just one and then now a different one, but it's many, many steps on the way. And I think that's where in nonviolent communication, many times we talk about the domination system and then we talk about a more life-serving system, like if there were only two. And I think that's one of the dead ends.
Like it's either or.
Yeah.
And because I'm saying it, I'm the good guy, and I can
Mm.
point my finger and say that's domination.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do it, it might not be domination. It's to serve. What if there is a life-serving part in both of them, and maybe
Yeah.
there's dominating parts of both of them? My kind of frustration with those two terms is that I think domination comes in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just put them all in one kind of with one label, domination, then we might miss out the nuances
Mm-hmm.
or the baths as you use it. Like for me,
Color
it's very
baths.
very different. Like now we can look at the news and there's physical war
Mm-hmm.
where we are killing people physically, and
Mm-hmm.
we're dominating in that sense. And then I can also switch on the news, Swedish politics, and I can see that the politicians are trying to dominate each other with ideas, but my idea is better than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's quite different kind of domination to when I want to kill someone or if I want to win with my arguments.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want to call them the same, like domination, because then for
Why?
me,
Why don't you want to call it the same?
well, I could call it the same, but I would want to index them, like put a that there's a difference. When I don't want to kill you, but I want to win with a better idea. For me, that's a very big difference. And as we can see in nonviolent
So
communication,
it's just because you see the difference you want to call them something different, or is it something else why you want to call them something different? I'm not getting that.
well, the effects are very different.
Mm-hmm.
If you kill people, there's a lot of dead people in
Mm-hmm.
vain, I would say.
Mm.
But if there's ideas, uh, then the best idea wins. It doesn't kill the other ideas. It's just that it's more efficient.
Well, there are some people that think that their idea is so good that they're willing to go for a war to protect it because they really believe that their idea is the best, and maybe it's not, even if they are the one that has the loudest voice or their best logic behind, getting most people on their side.
Yeah, but I still would want to differentiate that if I go out to war and bomb or kill people, that is different than if I want to create a trade deal, like
Mm-hmm.
financial war, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we would play sports, like it's war, but without the guns, you could say. I want to
Mm-hmm.
win, I want to crush your team, but I'm following some rules. Rules
But
of
why is it so important to you to not call it the same thing? Why not just call all of that into something like domination, and then whatever is left, we call something else?
because if it's a very wide or broad category, like men and women, if you put all men in one group and all women in another group,
Mm,
there is some truth to that, but there's variety, so to say. There's
mm,
tall, strong, intelligent. There are a lot of differences. And if we kind of put all those things in one basket, then I think we lose out. We miss
mm-hmm.
a lot of things.
Some nuances, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what are we gonna use those nuances for?
So if we're interested in peace, so then we learn that, well, I don't have to kill or crush. I can I can learn other ways um, of getting to peace,
Mm-hmm.
and I can also protect myself. Like if you are coming towards me with a gun, aiming to shoot,
Mm-hmm.
and if I just say let's talk, and you don't want to talk, then I'm an easy prey for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know the nuances, I can then protect myself uh, accordingly to what kind of way you are trying to dominate me. But if I just put everyone equal, so if you want to win, like if I play football and you want to win, then I'm not going to shoot you. I'm just going to practice being better at playing football.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
And what does this have to do with communication? What way does it affect communication, you mean?
I believe that when we simplify too much, like we say, we call it domination system and life serving system, that's a good start. And I believe that if it's too vague, too big categories, then we might end up in a dead end, so to say. We might miss on opportunities.
Yeah, I read a reply from someone on the chat where I was the other day, and this person said something like, reading what Marshall says about domination systems is that domination is bad, and we are at the same time asked not to look for good and bad in NVC. Um, so that seems like one thing where we lose track, kind of, if it's not nuanced, more nuanced.
Yeah. So we might misinterpret things like there is no good and bad, or we shouldn't focus on good and bad. I don't remember Marshall ever saying that, but I hear many people quoting it
Mm-hmm.
like that. I remember he said we can go beyond right and wrong, but it doesn't mean that there is no right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we can still connect, but we don't need to agree. It's a little bit the same. It's not like we have to agree if we connect. So
I also
yeah,
kept
what did you
reading.
want to say with that?
Well, it's something with this person also saying, and domination means, this is this person's connection to what Marshall was writing or saying, that someone takes leadership and decides without checking in with others. And this person doesn't agree with that. This has a place, like it does have a place, that sometimes leadership is taken and it's actually more life-serving than just continue to talk and then we're invaded, or continue to talk and our house is burnt down. And like there's places where that whole idea of domination or not domination can actually makes us passive and makes us less, well, worse at communicating or worse at protecting life.
So to listen to everyone, that is more important than acting, something like that.
Yeah, and from my understanding, Marshall wanted to point out that sometimes power is used in order, in a way that really is hurting people. Power is sometimes used in a way that is, well, it's both, like you were saying, violent with words, violent with actions, and that it's kind of, what I remember him saying is that it's important to see that it can be the case. And I would say it's equally important to see those nuances that you were talking about before, to not think that everything then is the same. That every act where we don't pause and ask everyone's opinion would be domination.
Yeah. So it's I'm I'm not good, I'm not bad, but I can do good things and I could do bad things, and I want to remember that, so I don't believe that I'm in the good team. Even though I might have good intentions, I might do bad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only have two categories, dominating or life serving, can sometimes lead us to think that we're in one and not in the other.
Yeah.
Um, and um, there's another thing that we're gonna explore more in the program that we're um, doing. Like this podcast is our way of kind of trying to bring out some things that we see value in, but we're also doing a longer training for people who are wanting curious about this. Um, that is, we want to differentiate. We want, what happens if I can see not only the sameness, like I can see the needs, but I can also see differences, like differences in capacity. Like there's a difference between a 3-year-old's ability to do math and yours and mine. So if we have a math problem, we can ask the person who is most capable of doing it, or I can know who I want to learn from. So all different, like how to kind of expect uh, things from people in a way that is helpful. And to be able to do that, we need to be able to kind of see not only the sameness, but also the differences.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when you talk about your mother, you can understand why there are differences,
Mm.
like you shared before. but you also want to acknowledge that there are differences. They are still there. So you want to adapt to the differences rather than being naive and thinking that just because you want something that it should be there, that she should be able to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's my mom, she should be able to communicate better just because she's older or whatever.
Yeah.
And to let go of that.
So at least my first 20 years of nonviolent communication was a lot of focus on the sameness.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the value in balancing the sameness and the difference, because they are both there, kind of, they're both true. So and I think the seeing only one, like two categories, good and bad, or domination and life serving, it's very hard to see the nuances. Like when we add things, more categories, more nuances, then we can see more of the differences in a way that is closer to reality, kind of.
Mm-hmm. So do you have another story about human nature that would give more hope and maybe movement forward than saying we're socialized by a domination system that we inherited something like 8,000 years ago, and now we have that in our socialization, so it's our human nature is kind of hidden under all that 8,000 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit depressing thinking that we inherit something that we don't have any power over, um, such a long time ago, and kind of missing that there's been happening quite a lot of other things the late 8,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I like the idea that our environment impacts us, like the 8,000 years ago impacts us, but also what happens closer to this moment, and all the things like in society, like you said, your mother was brought up in a house that had didn't have what do you say, hard floors. There were
Mm-hmm.
no electricity, no telephone, no. So she would need to kind of break the ice in the bucket and warm the water, make a fire in the kitchen to get the water to be warm.
Yeah. And outdoor toilets when it was minus 30. That was kind of grim.
Yeah,
And it creates another kind of human size, say, than us nowadays.
yeah. So that is just one example of how the external environment impacts our what we do and how we feel and how we need to think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And in our house, we have electricity and we have water, both warm, cold. So we can think about other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think 8,000 years ago, there were some things, exciting things happening in society in some places of the earth that changed some people and the way they were thinking and acting. And and that happens all the time, every day, but in, like you said, not on and off, but it's like slow changes. Like now we
Mm-hmm.
talk about how cell phones impact our brains and the dopamine and so forth. We didn't have that problem 100 years ago, not even 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I like that view, that it's all evolving, kind of. I like that much more.
Mm-hmm.
um, because then it's like things that were written 2000 years ago in some book. I might feel inspired by them today, but they had a totally different life circumstances then. So it
And there
made
were
different sense than it makes today.
Mm.
so I can adapt old wisdom to update it to today.
Yeah. And that's what we're hoping to do in our program, right? With that reimagining something, like looking at what really serves us.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about doing it. I'm almost scared because it seems like complicated, beautiful, nuanced. And it's going to be a lot of different things that we want to look into.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if I answer your question, but I do. I'm interested in learning more about how we interpret what has happened and what is going on now in a way that is um, taking care of our well-being.
Yeah. I have another thing I realized when I studied with Marshall and he kind of painted that picture of the domination system versus a more life-serving one. For me, it was a metaphor. But now I see it as a metaphor. Then I was more like the facts or the truth, the final truth. But now I see it as a metaphor. That was really helpful. That really helped me distinguish, like in two big, like one chunk here to the left and one to the right, with information and communication where I could turn to if I wanted to make more sense of human connection. So I could kind of have a first discernment about where to go. So it was for me, it was life serving. For me, it was very helpful. And then when it stopped having deeper meaning was then when I lost track that it was a metaphor. It was a way of painting a picture that would help me choose to, instead of saying, you are an asshole, you are lazy, you should do this and that. Instead, if I want to have a cooperation with you, I'd rather say, I feel lonely or I feel depleted, I need help. Could you help me? Uh, that is like such a big difference in two different directions, and it really helped to look at something as domination. Like I tried to shame you or guilt you into doing something, with blaming you, calling your names, and saying what you should not do. So to me, that metaphor might still really work for some people in sorting out like the first layer of communication. What I worry about is that when we keep using that and it's no longer helping us, it will actually make us more violent, more judgmental towards people who are not doing the same thing as us. And then we're in trouble with calling what we do NVC when we kind of uh, we blame or shame or judge, and we're not even seeing that. We're not even aware that we're doing that.
Yeah. So it's like the first edition, the domination and life serving, having those two categories is the beginning of a learning curve. And then as a second wave of second edition would be to have more words, more nuance. So we could navigate not black and white, but with color kind of, or
Yeah.
grayscale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a difference in doing that.
So if you're listening to this conversation and you never heard the terms domination system and life serving system, we encourage you to use them and explore them and read more about those two terms. And if you have heard them before, we encourage you to find the nuances in between.
Mm.
Um, yeah, is that
And you're really welcome to do it with us at some
yeah,
sometime.
but only if you want to have fun while you're doing it. but
Yeah.
but maybe that is a good way of kind of ending this conversation with that invitation to saying use it if it helps you, otherwise lose it or make it more nuanced.
Hmm. Yeah. A
Yeah,
good description of what we're aiming at, not to have a some dogma where we could that we were willing to kill each other for, but using whatever is supporting us to create connection and peace and communicate.
Well, cool. All right. So, is that enough for this time?
Yeah, enough for today.
Thank you. See you next time, yeah?
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation with Liv Larson and Kay Rung. If you want to explore more of their work, upcoming trainings, or dive deeper into nonviolent communication, you'll find resources at www.frirelive.com. In the show notes, you'll also find links to books mentioned in this episode, as well as more information about our international mediation program and the Reimagine Communication program, designed for those who want to deepen their practice in mediation and bring nonviolent communication more fully into everyday life. Thanks for listening. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected.